Thank you, Bruce. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Stuart, Florida. Today is December 13th, 2020. My name is Pam Corbin. I'll be your worship associate today. We're happy to have Bob MacDonald in our pulpit today. And a big thanks to those who helped with the service. Bruce Ruby, our excellent music director. Our Zoom host, Corina Pelloni. And we will mute everyone to avoid any noise in the background. Please remain muted. We are a welcoming congregation. We welcome people of all gender identities, races, ages, and backgrounds. Thank you for being with us today. We're holding Zoom services every Sunday at 11. Announcements are in our Friday online newsletter. To be put on our email list or to find out more information about us, go to our website at tcuuc.org. In the Friday newsletter, there'll be a link that you can use to get into the following Sunday's Zoom service. While you are there, notice the link for online giving, or you can mail a check to 21 Southeast Central Parkway in Stuart, Florida, 34997. And we thank you for your donations. Now we're going to have the chalice lighting. Our chalice lighting is our moment for meditation or visualization. Our intention is for the candle to serve as a lantern, guiding your mind to access the best path for your purpose. Close your eyes. Stop. Breathe deeply, elongating your breath. Thank you. Our theme this Sunday is memories. Political activism will always be a part of my November memories. There are some stories I've forgotten, scandals and outrages that are now fading from the forefront of the news. As a child, my memories were of a New England type holiday of Christmas and Thanksgiving, and the absolute inclusion of Kwanzaa to veer away from the constant expectations of gifts. So I had a family, but an unknown number of children crossed the border everywhere and were separated from their families. It now looks like this family separation is a permanent situation, what is commonly known as a government mess. In Spanish, the slang is un lío. This is a prayer of recognition. The prayer is by Eliza Griswold. What can we offer the child at the border? A river of shoes, her coat stitched with coins, her father killed for his teeth, her mother sewing her daughter's future into a hem. Alone, but for the brother who shoves her ahead through the barbed wire fence, knowing that she's safer without him. A truth that she cannot yet fathom, being too young for the ways of men. Nothing is what we can offer. The child died years ago, except practice a finer caliber of kindness to the stranger rather than wield this burden of self, this harriedness. Humility involves us less. Humility involves less us. Bruce will now play and sing hymn number 221, Light One Candle. Zoom is out of sync for music, so mute yourselves, but do sing joyfully. At this time, we'll recite our affirmation, speaking the first verse and singing the second. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you. So Caitlin has kept us up to date about Hank and his family, and we are certain that she'll let us know what is happening, how we can help, and when we have a service in his honor. Let's share our joys and sorrows. I'll move a stone in our symbolic river to mark each joy and sorrow. Please keep your joys and sorrows brief. Raise your hand to share, and Corina, our Zoom host, will unmute you to speak. For those whose joys and sorrows are too private to share, know that our hearts are with you. If you ever feel the need to reach out, please do so. And I'm putting this stone in the river. Now we'll have the pastoral reading.
For the meditation, I'm reading this from the hymnal, Ralph Waldo Emerson, The Heart Knoweth. We have a great deal more kindness than is ever spoken. The whole human family is bathed with an element of love, like a fine ether. How many persons we meet in houses whom we scarcely speak to, whom yet we honor and who honor us. How many we see in the street or sit with in church, whom though silently we warmly rejoice to be with. Read the language of these wandering eye beams. The heart knoweth. Emerson. And now some moments of silence. And now Ann Nazawa will teach us about Hanukkah. Thank you, Ann.
I'm especially glad to be here doing this because, and I set my timer for 5 minutes, Bob, don't worry, you won't need the hook. To have the song that we sang, which was unfamiliar to me, was a special delight because it really gets to just the point that I wanted to make, one of the points. Hanukkah has nothing to do with Christmas. It doesn't celebrate anything except one principle, which I shall refer to. Gifts have nothing to do with it. There are no mysterious births. There are no babies featured in Hanukkah. But the one thing that is referred to that's similar to Christmas is that families come together. Traditions are kept and moved forward. That has always been a central part of Hanukkah. It's a little nothing of a holiday in the Jewish book of holidays. In fact, it began in about a couple of hundred years BCE, as far as we know. And it was a way of honoring the Maccabees, the tough guys, who are, I think, the spiritual ancestors of the present Israeli Defense Forces and the Mossad. Tough guys, tough women, tough life. They do wonders with the forces that they have. And that's the same as the Maccabees did. The Maccabee family was a priestly family, very well known and relatively prosperous in their area. They were called upon to defend the temple, their one major temple, when the Greeks and the Romans, due to fights of their own, decided that the temple must be converted to non-Christian Greek and Roman worship. They thought that Judaism should be, I'm sorry, I'm not 25 anymore. I can't get hold of some of the words. That Judaism should be abolished. They gave the people, the Israelis, a choice. You want to be Jewish? Okay, we'll kill you. That's it. And that's what happened. Many Jews were killed because they refused to reject their religion. That again has no relation to, has much relation to all the other holidays of the Jews, that phenomenon. But anyway, the Greeks and the Romans fought each other as much as they maligned and were hostile to the Jews. So as the Jews were harassed and kicked out of the temple, their Lares and Penates were also destroyed. Bob, what do I want to say about the junk that's in the church that you have? Religious symbols is one thing. And they got rid of that. So the temple, from the point of view of the Jews, was completely defiled. It was no more than a dirty closet. As soon as the Maccabees and the rest of their village helpers started to clean out the temples after they got rid of the Greeks and Romans, they realized that it was not a one-day problem. They sent one of their members out to get more oil because they only had enough oil for one day in the lamp. Well, the messenger didn't come back right away. It took him 8 days to get more oil for the lamp that they could use while they cleaned out the temple. However, that oil that was expected to last one day did in fact last 8 days. That was obviously a gift from God, obvious to the people who were there at the time, a gift from God, which was worthy of being commemorated. And in fact, the word Hanukkah means dedication in transformed Hebrew. So at the time, it was near the Sukkot holiday. Sukkot is the Jewish celebration of the harvest. And the rabbis, or the people who gradually came to be the leaders in Hebrew scholarship, thought that it would be worthwhile to remember these 8 days. And since Sukkot was a holiday at the same time, they thought, well, let's have Hanukkah last for 8 days. That'll be a good kind of memorable device. My timer isn't working, Bob. You're going to have to get the hook. Sorry. So they made it last for 8 days, as Sukkot did. So it became also, because Sukkot was essentially a family holiday, the family had gathered in their crops and they built a little house in the backyard to celebrate the nice weather and certain fruits that they, well, Sukkot is a whole other story, but it was that the holidays were kind of celebrated side by side so the Hanukkah would not be forgotten. Well, the Jews were hungry, dirty immigrants when they first started coming here in great numbers before 1920, approximately between 1900 and 1920. They settled on the east side in New York, as many of us who like musical shows know about. And they weren't much of a public relations gang until about 1930 and onward. In the Depression, the Jews who were financiers, and there were a few of them in New York, became well known, and the Jews who at the other end of the Depression were starving to death became known because they set up their own co-ops and so on. So the social view of Jews changed a lot during the 1930s. This kid was a little kid in the 1930s, and the view I had as an 8 to 10-year-old was a view of Hanukkah as, gee, a lot of fun for the kids and latkes, and of all things, jelly donuts. They weren't called jelly donuts, but that was traditional too. And singing, Ma'asor Yeshua say, the tune, in case you recognize it, Rock of Ages. And I've forgotten what Ma'asor actually translates to. Maybe there's somebody else in church that knows. Anyway, and the kids had a swell time at Hebrew school. My group did a pageant where we personified the menorah. Anochi ner shlishi shlishi. It's very hard to sing. That was me. I was the 8th candle. I can't interpret that, whether it was because they wanted to stick me in the background or what, I don't know. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. I stood there and sang a Hebrew song. And when it was my turn to be a little older and help the little kids to celebrate Hanukkah, I wrote a tune. I keep remembering all this junk. Hooray for Judah Maccabee, stronger than Hopalong Cassidy. He done, and a whole story of what he did. But they were the fighters, and the Hebrews were not noted for fighting. They were noted for taking care of the sheep and sort of each other, but not fighting and carrying on. So naturally, at the end of the struggles with the Greeks and the Romans, it wasn't that the Jews were just as bloody and revenge-minded as anybody else. It was that God had given them swords which could repel the invaders. Of course, both versions are true, as always true. It's true today, as it was 300 and something BCE. So Hanukkah has kind of collided with the Christian society's changes to Christmas. Bill Falk will know this. Christmas is just very different now from what it was in the 1930s, the way people celebrate it, as is Hanukkah. But it's not that the paths have developed in parallel. No, the paths have further divided. Most Jews who think carefully about the way they want to bring up their children do not allow them to be Christmassy and mix it with Hanukkah. There are some who do, a Christmas tree in the living room, a Hanukkah menorah in the kitchen, whatever it is. And I was subjected to that myself. I now regret it, but there were other reasons why we did it. Hanukkah is a time for us to remember the traditions that when it came time to step up to home plate and protect the team against incursion, against a demand that they give up their religion and allow themselves to be dominated. When that time arrived, the Maccabees and therefore the entire Hebrew community were involved, did the right thing, preserved their religion, and they still aspire to do so. I'm sure I've had my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you very much. I hate to have to ask you this. Can I be heard? Geraldine, I see you. Would you raise your hand if you can hear? Oh, you can hear me. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Now what? Yes. Now we'll have a video. We're going to segue to the Christian holiday to some extent. Dave mentioned an a cappella group last week, and I found them, of course, in the Eternal Source. And now we'll have a video, Carol of the Bells by this a cappella group. Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Corina. I thought for a moment I might have to sing a cappella, at which time I'm sure I would have heard a chorus from out there saying, "Bob, please mute yourself." I do want to report a sign of hope for the congregation. I was alone here last week, the only person here. All the helpers were in their homes on their screens. Today, I have 3 more people, so you could say the congregation has grown by what? 300%. We look for hope wherever we can find it. No holiday or time of year takes me back to my roots like this one. And today would have been my mom's 99th. I know the nativity stories in Matthew and Luke are rich in meanings, but don't have much to do with the actual birth of Jesus, because nothing is known of the actual birth. What they offer, I've learned, is what can be discovered to be at the heart of the universe, or what we can believe in to make the heart of the universe, or just what we want the heart of the universe to be. The nativity stories apparently weren't known to the earliest and most prolific writer and leader of the early Christian movement, the leader often considered the founder, known as the Apostle Paul. And the 2 stories in Matthew and Luke don't agree on important details. Matthew emphasizes magi, astrologers, and a star, and the general suggestion is there is or will be universal meaning in the birth, the life of this little one. Luke, on the other hand, emphasizes shepherds and an angel chorus. So the mighty, not the meek, the mighty, not the mighty, but the meek, are hearing a universal lullaby, peace and goodwill. So, like all life-guiding myths, there are meanings to be explored and savored year after year, and we will on Christmas Eve. What strikes me as important this time of year, whatever your religious faith, are the memories that have been and continue to be the building blocks of our lives, especially this year. We need to remember who and what has built us, and who and what has given us the tools to face the best of times and to face the worst of times. And we have to hope we are nearing the end of the latter, the worst of times, because we know we aren't in the former, the best of times. The toll of lives lost is staggering. And the wrecked economy for small businesses and the people who waited on us, how will they recover? Will they recover? And just when we needed a government to be what we were told we were, you remember, a shining light on a hill, the leader of the free world, well, we will just have to hope that someday we can be what we thought, what we were told we were. And over the course of this year, I suspect we have all learned some things about ourselves that either we didn't know or didn't want to dwell on. I know I did. I had to ask, who was that man who crawled into bed in the middle of the day and sometimes the middle of the morning and peered into the black hole of what seemed like near total dysfunction? I remember mentioning to a psychologist in one of my Long Island churches in one of my breakup times several decades ago that I thought I would be succumbing to depression. He simply said, "But you won't. You're not depressed a lot, so when you do feel it, you may think you're going under to stay, but you won't. Most people feel that way at times, and they do survive, and you will." I thanked him, but thought, I'm glad I'm not paying you for this, because it's not really what I wanted to hear, but it is what I needed to hear. So this holiday time reminds me what got me going in life and has kept me going. I need to remember those things now. I know you have power cells in you, too, from the holidays past, and we all need to let them recharge us for all they are worth. I love those messages from my devices that say, your battery is low. And I want to say back, how could you know? If you only knew, am I that transparent? Maybe I could learn from my cats. I thought cats purred because they were happy to see me. I read that cats purr because they are comforting themselves. Cats are survivors because of that mechanism. The holiday settings at my origin were humble, loving time capsules. They continue to enrich my memory store. People who struggled and battled poverty and familiar demons made a day magical and gift-wrapped. Whatever we got, I've told you before, it was often Tinker toys and erector sets I couldn't make do much with. P.S. In my vintage, the 1950s, growing up, all boys in New York State 8th grade took shop, and all girls took home ec. Now, shop wasn't shopping, and ec wasn't really economics. Do you think maybe some unhelpful typecasting in school? I wish I had paid attention. But there was a message in those gifts under the tree you couldn't mistake. If we didn't then know about our value to our Maker, we knew about our value to the people who made us. Their presence to us conveyed that. And remembering that early holiday setting reminds me of a poster some folks gave me early in my career. They told me they thought it summed up my theology. The poster said, "I have to believe there's a conspiracy out there to make me happy." It's the only conspiracy I believe in, not just me, but every me. The next layer of holiday memories that stays with me reminds me of my conspiring for the happiness of my children. In the attic of one of them, now she's 50 plus, but there's a dollhouse I thought I could quickly assemble after the midnight service I led. By the time I was done with it, I could have fallen under the tree to be discovered there a couple hours later with the crumbs of what was left for Santa. The joy you can bring to others is a lasting reminder of the holiday season. And the joy you brought to some can recharge you when you really need it, like now. One year I was so eager to see their delight that as the last one up the night before, I set the clocks ahead 2 hours. Not thoroughly appreciated and not to be repeated. The hymn we started with, "Light One Candle," a Hanukkah hymn in our hymnal, says so well that what we can do seems so little, but we have to. Those candles have helped keep faith and hope alive through difficult ages, and we are surely in one such now. The candle we hold on Christmas Eve as we savor a moment of silence is a glow we need when we are not feeling it. The wonder of that glow and that silent night is, I know not what. And while it is happening, I don't want to fill it in or clutter it up with possible meanings. What I need then is silence and a little light, no words necessary. There is a conspiracy for our happiness. This may not be the year for feeling it, but we can remember when we did, and that memory savored may well tell us we will again. There is also a conspiracy for our health, as the world of scientists have an opportunity and our appreciation and prayer for success like never before. The world of medicine and science walks tall these days, and countries we haven't said were ahead of us are. Maybe we will earn a new respect for the world. We will earn it, and they will learn it of us. And in the global cooperation to save all, not just us, we will have a new reputation in the world's eyes, not because we are ahead, but because we are with. One of our UU principles is the goal of world community, peace, liberty, and justice for all. There could be some good come out of all the world has suffered and discovered together. A child in a well once united the world for a moment. And this week, a senior woman from Yale's had her moment. So many have told me that the memories of these and other holiday times are mixed. Scenes of earlier joy and innocence and home have new associations of loss or simply more change than we knew was coming. Figuratively, the boxes in the attic contain more than we put there. One of the attics in the church house I lived in had a sign at the door, "Enter at your own risk." I wondered if that meant possibly the corpses of rodents or former pastors. The news reports a good year for the holiday decoration business. People are home, and decorating can be a fun family sport. Many of us have our store of decorations from Christmases past, and the only question is, how many will we pull out? People seem to need to do decorating because we need the mood that decorating tried to capture. If not for our own home, then maybe for the neighbors who might see it. Light one candle for Hanukkah. Hold one lit candle on Christmas Eve. Maybe the feeling will come. The connection to people who lit and held a candle like those for people before them and for people who will come after them. This is a time to savor the memories of joys shared and that mystery, that eternal mystery of those who have left us but haven't. So we still have to dwell on and to keep what we really need, what has been given to us. And this holiday has a lot of good reminders like that. The closing hymn, I don't know this hymn, you may not. Sing it or just read the words as Bruce plays and sings, "In the Gentle of the Moon." Beautiful words. Pam will extinguish our chalice after these closing words. I'm often surprised by the resiliency of happiness through the years and the lift that happy memories keep bringing. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Pam.